The evening air is cool on your skin. The garden has given you tomatoes and the first cucumber of the year. You sit on the porch, a cup of tea in your hand, and you hear it. A single high whine near your ear. You wave it away. 3 seconds later, another, then another. By the time the sun has fully set, your ankles are dotted with bites and the peace of the evening is gone. I know this feeling well. My wife and I used to surrender the garden to the mosquitoes by July. We would watch the green beans climb their poles from behind the window screen, and I would feel a quiet grief. All that work, all that summer, and we could not enjoy it because of a creature smaller than a grain of rice. I will tell you today what changed for us. It is a way of thinking that my grandfather taught me in our small village in Japan, a way of seeing the whole yard as one living system, not a battlefield to be poisoned. It is a 3-part practice, and I promise you, by the end I will tell you about a simple bucket that does the patient, silent work while you sleep. It costs almost nothing. But first, I must introduce myself properly. My name is Michael. I was born in a small farming village in the mountains of Japan, where the rice paddies stepped down the hillside like mirrors for the sky. My grandfather was a man who wasted nothing. A broken tool was repaired. A scrap of cloth became a cleaning rag. An old barrel became a rainwater catch. He taught me a word that has become the spine of my life. Matanai. It is difficult to translate perfectly. It means something like, what a waste, but deeper. It is the regret you feel when something still useful is thrown away. The sadness of seeing the gift of a thing ignored. I carried that word with me when I came to this country as a young man. I have lived here most of my life. I love this fast, bright, generous country. But I say this gently, as a guest who wishes only the best for his hosts. I have watched this country forget the simple, free knowing that once belonged to every household. The stores here will sell you a different bottle, a different gadget, a different subscription for every small problem. It is Matanai, and I have found, in my years here with my wife and our small garden, that the old ways, the ways from my grandfather's village, often work better. They cost less. They respect the soil and the water and the air. So I will share what I know. And please, I mean this truly. Tell me in the comments where you live and what you grow. I read every one. It brings me great happiness to know what soil my words land in. Now I need to speak about how most folks in this modern world see a mosquito. They see a winged enemy. They reach for the spray can. They fog the yard with a chemical that settles on the tomato leaves and the children's swing set. And for 2 days the air smells sharp and wrong. Then the rain comes, or the week passes, and the mosquitoes return. The mosquitoes always return. Why? Because we are treating the symptom, not the source. Because we have been taught to buy a product, instead of understand a life cycle. Before we go on, what I am showing you today is one method. There are more than 390 others. All my life, the old people who raised me lived by one word, Matanai, and they had a clever, simple way for nearly everything. The garden, the pests, the pantry, the cleaning, the repairs, the home remedies, staying warm through winter. I gathered them all into one place, the Home Savings Almanac. 12 books anyone can follow. Watching this video will not change your home. Doing these things will. If you are in earnest, you want the whole library. It is discounted now, but the price climbs again soon. The link is below and in the first pinned comment. It costs less than a single dinner out, and it pays for itself by your next bill. Do not wait. You can begin today. Now let us continue. My grandfather would have said, with a small shake of his head, "The mosquito does not come to hurt you. She comes to make more mosquitoes. Stop her where she makes them, and you stop the war before it begins." A mosquito's life is a wheel. Egg, larva, pupa, adult. The adult flies to you, drinks what she needs, and then searches for still water to lay her eggs. A single female can lay over 100 eggs in one small cap full of water. 100 eggs become 100 flying adults in a week. Now those 100 each lay 100 more. I will not pretend this is an exact number from a university study. It is the shape of the problem, the curve of it, that matters. You are not fighting one mosquito. You are fighting an endless succession of generations. If you kill only the adults, you are bailing water from a leaking boat. If you break the wheel where the eggs become larvae, you dry up the leak. This is what my grandfather understood. This is the first part of the method. The method has 3 parts, like the 3 legs of a stool. The first is the trap that calls the mosquito mother. The second is the barrier that repels the living from your yard. The third is the shield you carry on your own skin when you walk into their world. I will begin with the trap, because it is the heart of the matter. Part 1. The bucket that breaks the wheel. In my village, the old people could not buy plastic buckets. They used wooden barrels, clay pots. The principle was the same. Mosquitoes are drawn to still water to lay their eggs, but they are also drawn to the breath of animals, the carbon dioxide we exhale, because that breath tells them a meal is nearby. The modern stores sell machines that burn propane to make CO2. They cost much money. They require fuel. It is Motanai. A small flame also makes CO2. A small, slow, steady flame that costs almost nothing and burns for weeks. This is what we will make. You need a 5-gallon bucket, the kind the hardware store sells for a few dollars. You need its lid. You need a mason jar, a heavy glass jar with a tight lid. You need a wick. My grandfather would have twisted a wick from old cotton cloth. I use a strip of cotton fabric from my wife's sewing scraps. You need something that burns slowly and cleanly. In the modern grocery store, you find vegetable shortening or the plain white paraffin wax sold beside the canning jars. I have used both. The shortening is cheaper and burns longer. You fill the mason jar with the shortening, packing it down gently, leaving room for the wick. You punch a small hole in the metal lid of the jar, thread the wick through, and let it stand about an inch above the lid. This is your candle. One such candle, a full quart jar, will burn for over a month. It will burn day and night, a small steady flame no bigger than your thumb, and it will exhale a slow, quiet breath of carbon dioxide into the water around it. This is the call. Now the bucket. Drill a series of holes around the side of the bucket, near the top, just below the lid line. Do not drill them low. A gust of wind should pass through without blowing out your candle. The holes are doors for the mosquitoes. They must be small, perhaps ½ an inch wide. On the bottom of the bucket, place your mason jar candle. I must caution you here. The jar must be heavy. A plastic container will become light as the wax burns down, and it can tip. A tipped flame inside a plastic bucket is a danger. Use heavy glass, always. Around the candle, pour 2 or 3 inches of water, not more. The water must not reach the flame. Now the final and essential ingredient. You must break the egg-laying cycle. For this you use something the old people in Japan did not have, but the principle is the same. A natural enemy of the larva. You place a mosquito dunk in the standing water. This is a small ring or granule that contains a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis israelensis. The name sounds complex and scientific, but it is a natural soil bacteria. It is harmless to birds, to bees, to your dog who drinks from the wrong puddle. But to a mosquito larva, it is a quiet reaper. The larva eats it and dies before it can ever grow wings. One larva dead is 100 future mosquitoes that will never exist. 1,000 larvae dead is 100,000. The numbers become large very quickly. This is how you kill millions, not with poison sprayed on the wind, but by stopping them before they are born. You put the lid on the bucket. You place the bucket in a shaded corner of your yard, perhaps near a bush where you have seen them resting. Then you wait. The candle burns. The CO2 wafts gently from the holes. The mama mosquito, heavy with eggs, senses the breath and smells the still water. She flies in through the holes. She lands on the surface of the water. She lays her eggs. Her larvae hatch into water that holds the bacteria. The cycle breaks. She does not know she is ending her own line. The bucket does its silent work for weeks. I check mine once a month. I lift the lid. I see the still water. I add a fresh dunk and a new candle before the old one dies. My grandfather would have understood this immediately. You are not killing. You are redirecting. You are giving them a place to go. And that place is the end of their road. I must be honest with you. This trap will not catch every mosquito in a mile. A few will still find the puddle in the overturned flower pot saucer that you forgot to empty. You must still walk your yard like a farmer checking his fields, looking for any standing water the size of a bottle cap. But this bucket, it does the heavy work. It works while you sleep. It costs a handful of coins. No electricity, no chemicals, no motanai. Part 2 of the method. The shield for your yard. You have a few mosquitoes that were born elsewhere. They drift in from the neighbor's clogged gutter, from the swampy ditch at the end of the road. You do not want to kill every insect in your garden. The bees are working your squash blossoms. The butterflies are dancing. To spray a broad poison is to burn down the house to kill a few flies. Matanai, instead, you will make the air itself unwelcoming. You will tell the mosquitoes gently that this yard is not a good place to be. My grandfather planted citronella grass near the doorway of our village home. He did not know the word citronella. He knew it as a grass that the old people had always planted, and when you brushed against it, the scent rose up and the evening insects kept their distance. The modern world has extracted the oil from many such plants and sold them in small, expensive bottles, but you can use those oils to make a barrier spray that costs very little per use. I will tell you what I use: neem oil, peppermint oil, water, a small amount of natural soap to help them mix. Neem oil comes from the seeds of the neem tree. It has a bitter, earthy smell that mosquitoes and many garden pests cannot tolerate. When a mosquito lands on a leaf treated with neem, she does not stay, she does not feed, she does not lay eggs. Peppermint oil is simply peppermint. Its scent is so strong and so sharp that it overwhelms the delicate senses of the mosquito. She smells the peppermint and cannot smell you. She cannot find her way. Both of these are safe. They are from plants, but I must caution you. They are strong oils. Do not spray them directly on a blooming flower where a bee is working. Spray in the evening when the bees have gone home, and wear a simple mask, the kind you use for sanding wood. It is not a poison, but breathing a cloud of peppermint mist can sting your throat. The old way to apply this was to walk the yard with a small hand-pumped sprayer, misting the bushes and the grass and the underside of the porch railing. This works. I did it for years. But the coverage is small, and your arm grows tired, and you must refill the can many times. One day I watched my neighbor blowing leaves from his driveway with a loud gas-powered machine, and a thought came to me. The machine moves a great volume of air. My sprayer makes a fine mist. If I join them, the air will carry the mist deep into the shrubs, high into the tree canopy, across a wide swath in a single pass. It was not my grandfather's way, but my grandfather would have appreciated the cleverness of using a tool you already own for a new purpose. He valued a tool that could do 3 jobs. You need a leaf blower. Gas or electric, it does not matter. You need a pump sprayer with a wand. A simple hand pump sprayer is fine. A battery-powered one is a convenience. You need duct tape. Duct tape is a very American thing. My wife's father, a kind man from Ohio, he called it the handyman's secret weapon. It is simple, strong, and it works. You fill the sprayer with 1 gallon of water. You add 3 tablespoons of neem oil. You add 3 tablespoons of peppermint oil. I will tell you a trick I learned from my own mistakes. Add a tablespoon of natural liquid soap, the kind without strong detergents or perfumes. The soap helps the oil and the water to become friends, to mix evenly instead of floating apart. Shake this mixture very well before you begin. Then you tape the wand of your sprayer to the nozzle of your leaf blower. The tip of the wand should sit just at the edge of the rushing airstream. Adjust your sprayer nozzle to the very finest mist setting. Not a stream, not a jet, a cloud. When you start the leaf blower and press the sprayer trigger, the mist is caught by the wind and thrown forward in a great wide plume. I walk the perimeter of my yard with this. I mist the tall grasses at the edge of the property where the mosquitoes rest during the heat of the day. I mist the underside of the deck. I mist the thick tangle of the blackberry bushes. The smell of peppermint rises up, clean and sharp and cool. For 2, perhaps 3 days after, if I walk through the garden at dusk, I am not bothered. Then the rain comes, or the dew heavy in the morning, and the scent fades, and I do it again. This is not a one-time fix. This is a practice, like weeding, like watering. The honesty is this: if you live beside a marsh, if your neighbor has a green swimming pool they have not cleaned in 2 summers, you will still have some mosquitoes. I will not pretend this makes your yard a sealed fortress, but it will make it a place you can sit in again. It will keep the worst of them at the edges, and the bucket will do the rest. Part 3. The shield on your skin. Even with the bucket and the yard spray, there are times you must walk into their domain. The deep shade of the forest trail, the evening fishing at the lake where the cattails stand thick, the overgrown corner of the backfield where the grass is wet and the air is still. For these times, you need something you can carry on your own body. I have watched the modern world reach for a chemical called DEET for many decades. It is effective. I do not argue with its effectiveness, but my wife, whose skin is sensitive, and I, who do not like the feeling of a synthetic chemical sitting on my skin for hours, we wanted another way. And as I said, I am a man who reads the back of bottles and the small print of studies. The American organizations, the ones that study disease and health, they have approved only one plant-based active ingredient that works as well as the chemical alternatives against mosquitoes. It is oil of lemon eucalyptus. Not lemon eucalyptus essential oil from the little health store. That is different and often too weak. The active ingredient is a refined extract called pimenthane 3,8-diol. But the bottle will say oil of lemon eucalyptus, and it will state that it is a repellent. This is the one product, aside from DEET, that the sickness prevention authorities in this country have said truly works. I keep a small silver bottle of it in my workshop. It has been there for years. I make my own blend to stretch it and to make it gentle on the skin. For a day hike, I take a small dark glass bottle. I put in 1 tablespoon of the oil of lemon eucalyptus, 2 tablespoons of a carrier. Witch hazel works. So does a natural liquid soap made from plants, the kind called Castile soap. I use a little of both sometimes. The soap helps the oil blend with the water I add to fill the rest of the bottle. Now here is the most important thing, the thing most folks forget. The reason they come back saying it did not work. Before you spray, you must shake the bottle. Turn it upside down. Shake it again. The oil wants to float to the top. If you do not shake, you spray only water on your skin, and the oil stays behind in the bottle. Then you become a meal. Then you say the old way does not work. It is not the old way's fault. It is the shaking. Always shake. I spray this on my hands and pat it onto my neck and my arms and the cuffs of my pants. I keep it away from my eyes and my mouth. I wash my hands after. It smells medicinal and green, like a crushed eucalyptus leaf on a hot stone. It is not a perfume. It is a signal the mosquito reads as not food. I have sat beside a lake at sunset with this on my skin and watched the mosquitoes circle and drift away, seeking easier blood. A word of care, because this is serious. What works for me may not work the same for your child or your dog. I spoke to my veterinarian. I spoke to my daughter about her little ones. Small amounts on the clothing, not on the hands that go into the mouth, not on the fur where the animal will lick it. You must ask your own doctor, your own vet. My grandfather would say a wise man does not assume his tea will taste the same to his neighbor. Now I must speak about the enemy, but I say the word enemy very softly. The enemy is not a person. It is not a company. It is the quiet forgetting that has settled over this fast country. The stores have taught you that a problem must be met with a purchase, a plug-in device, a monthly subscription of chemicals, a truck that comes and sprays your whole yard for $100 each visit. They have made you feel helpless, dependent on their bottles and their catalog numbers. They have made you forget that knowing is free, that observation costs nothing, that a mosquito's life cycle is a thing you can learn in 5 minutes and use for a lifetime. They have made you forget the standing water in your own gutters, the saucer under your own potted plant, the old tire behind the shed that catches the rain and breeds a new generation every 7 days. They do not tell you to empty the water. They sell you the spray for the adults instead. This is Matanai. It is not waste of money only, though it is that. It is the waste of understanding, the waste of self-reliance. My grandfather, in his small village with his clay pot and his cotton wick and his watchful eyes, understood more about controlling pests than a man with $1,000 fogging machine. Not because my grandfather was a genius, because he paid attention. You can pay attention too. So let us gather the 3 legs of the stool. I will speak them plainly so you can hold them in your mind. The first leg, the bucket trap, a 5-gallon bucket with a lid, holes near the top, a heavy glass jar candle that burns vegetable shortening, breathing a slow CO2 call, 2 inches of water, a mosquito dunk that quietly ends the larvae before they can fly. Place it in the shade. Check it once a month. Let it break the wheel of generations while you sleep. The second leg, the yard barrier, a sprayer fastened with simple duct tape to a leaf blower, 1 gallon of water, 3 tablespoons of neem oil, 3 tablespoons of peppermint oil, a spoon of natural soap, shake well. Mist the edges, the bushes, the shady resting places in the evening. The air becomes a place mosquitoes do not wish to linger. The bees are safe. The garden breathes. The third leg, the skin shield, oil of lemon eucalyptus, the genuine repellent, a dark bottle, a carrier of witch hazel or Castile soap and water. Shake, always shake. Pat on your skin. Walk into the woods with a quiet confidence. These 3 together form a system, and a system is stronger than any single part. The bucket reduces the number being born. The yard spray tells the survivors to stay away. The skin shield protects you when you step beyond your own borders. I ask you again, as I did at the start, tell me in the comments, where do you live? What grows in your garden? Do you have an old bucket behind the shed waiting for a purpose? Have you ever watched a mosquito lay her eggs on still water? I read every comment. I learn from you as you learn from me. That is the old way. The teacher and the student trading places, like the rice fields reflecting the changing sky. My grandfather used to say, "The harvest is not a single day. It is every small act from the turning of the soil to the closing of the storage jar." He meant the rice, but he meant everything. The mosquito-free evening is not a single spraying. It is the bucket you set in April, the walk you take after each rain to tip out the water, the spray you apply on Saturday morning before the family comes for the cookout. It is a practice, a small and steady effort. It is the opposite of the modern promise, which says one big purchase will solve everything forever. The old way asks you to be in relationship with your yard, with the rain, with the life cycles of the creatures who share it. It is slower. It is cheaper. It is, I believe, more satisfying. Sit on your porch tonight. Light a candle if you like. Not for the mosquitoes, just for the beauty of it. Watch the light fade. Listen to the crickets. And if no mosquito whines in your ear, if your ankles are unmarked and the evening is yours again, think of the small jar burning in the bucket in the corner of the yard. It is doing its quiet work. It asks nothing of you. It is a good neighbor. That is the way.